He's Razz.
He's Phil.
And we're metal manglers.
Especially this week, out of Verona. There's some metal bin up in the dwarf class, wasn't there?
Bumpers, somebody tore their front end off.
Yeah, the 11 car managed to defy the laws of gravity.
Yes, he did. And he sent his front end flying further down the track than he did.
His tire and spindle made another quarter lap.
Yeah. Glad Darren's okay.
Yep. So this video here, we're going to show you a little bit on how to make a very, very simple fabrication project. Trust us, if we can do it, anybody can.
That's true, yeah.
So we're going to show you how to turn this
into something like this.
So it's a pretty simple deal. It's easy to do, but it's easy to get wrong too. There's a few simple measurements that are important. You need to know the overall length of your bumper that's allowed or works for your car, so check your rule book for that. And if you get it wrong, you end up with this. This is an easy fix though. We get the metal stretcher out and that takes care of that.
Or if you do the measurement wrong, you end up with this. And this is an easy fix. You just get the bandsaw out and...
So a couple key things, this first bend is not critical. As long as the end of your tube ends up somewhere close to the middle of your bumper, you're good. You could be an inch or even 2 inches off and be all right. We use a 3-inch CLR radius bender. What CLR means is center line radius. So that means that the center line of this tube has a 3-inch radius, or 6-inch diameter would end up being 7 inches overall to the outside of the tube. Your bender may vary, and again, make sure it fits your rule book. The next bend is critical, because if you don't have this distance between the two bends exactly right, your bumper is going to be too long, too short. You're going to end up with what we have here, or an overlap. We try to stay within an inch or two, right?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. 16th, 32nd.
Yeah, it really is critical. It really needs to be within about a 32nd of an inch. But once you get those measurements down, you should be able to reproduce those results every time. And again, pretty easy. Follow along as we do that and show you how to do this.
Well, as you can see by this is a mistake we made. The adage of measure twice, cut once is extremely important, because this is one that we didn't measure twice, and you can see we made about an inch mistake.
Piece of cake. Stretch the metal, we're good.
Yeah, a good welder that can fill that in.
You can't stretch that?
No.
Damn it. All right, follow along while we do this.
All right.
So you start with 1-inch 095 tubing. For a 47-inch bumper, cut it at 98 5/8 inches. We use HREW, hot roll electric weld, which gives you a seam on one side. Deburr the ends. Make your first mark. Your first bend is at 19 1/4. You line that up on the die there, where it was on the bending die. Again, these measurements are critical, so I try to line up on one side or the other of the Sharpie mark and use that same side all the time. Quick bend. Phil's getting his arm work out. So this is a JD2 bender, pretty typical, a lot of these out there. Once we get it close, throw a tape measure in there, and you're looking for 5 inches inside to inside, and you got to overbend this because it springs back. So get it overbent and hopefully get it right on the mark. And then you'll see what happens here is what happens a lot is it ends up being a little bent a little bit too much, and since it's bent a little bit too much, you've got to grab it and pull on it, open it up a little bit. No big deal. Not that hard to do, and you see I didn't pull on it very much. Then leave it clamped in the die and measure from the back side of the inside diameter die to your next mark. And your next mark here is 38 3/4. Again, be real precise in this measurement. Get it marked and make sure you're right on the money. Pop it out of the clamp and then Once you get it popped out of the clamp, you'll line up your mark on the die where, just like you did on the first bend. So you rotate the die around and line up your measurement there. We put the seam from the weld on the inside of the bend. That seems to get less distortion and less of a corkscrew type of effect where you get a little spiral there. Again, line that mark up on the die. Phil's taking his time here, making sure everything's lined up exact. Tighten up your clamp, lock everything in place. You have to make this adjustment here to make sure that you're bending on the same plane. It's pretty much an eyeball deal. And then, as you can see, we actually have to get the clamp tightened up there. Another 180-degree bend. Now, if you did everything right and cut it to the exact length that you need to, put it in the bender exactly where it's supposed to, then this tube will line up just perfect right on the end. And as you can see, as it comes around, it's just perfect. It's got a tiny little gap for welding. Again, you got to overbend it a little bit. But like I said, perfect gap. We didn't manipulate this for the video. We just got lucky this time. Sometimes you get like a 1/4 inch gap or a little bit of overlap. Now we're cutting the uprights and the stanchions. This is the stanchion that slides into the socket on the chassis to mount the bumper. Get 2 of these, get them knocked out. Then you put it in your tubing notcher. There's nothing special about this. Got a 1-inch hole saw in there, you get it lined up. Now for the stanchions, we're just lining up one end and notching that. But we made this simple little jig to do the uprights, and you take and slide that notch you just cut into that tube and then cut it again. It's the perfect size to go inside the bumper. 5 inches inside of the notch to the inside of the other notch. So it works out pretty slick. You can easily make something like this yourself. So it makes it easily reproducible, so we're doing the same thing each time. Deburr those, clean them up. You always want to deburr your tube or anything you're welding. It makes for a cleaner weld. We've made a simple little jig to locate the uprights and the stanchions for mounting. You'll see that here in a sec. Again, this is just something we developed to fit the car that Phil runs. Your mileage is going to vary how you're going to do it. Some of the bumpers mount with a rectangle tube, some of them mount with a piece of flat stock, some of them mount with a 1-inch tube like you see here. There you have it. 3 uprights for each bumper, 2 stanchions to mount it to the chassis, ready to go. Set it in the jig. I like to put the center one in right over the seam. That way it gives it a little support. When you weld it together, you have fewer welds showing. Then the 2 outer uprights are placed in this jig so that they'll line exactly up with the chassis. I said jig's nothing special. We'll just use clamps to hold those mounting stanchions in place. Line them up exactly on the uprights. There you go. Nothing fancy welding this, just a MIG weld and you're good to go. Well, there you go. There's a tube bumper, hairpin bumper, whatever you want to call it.
I call it a not bent bumper.
No, that's a bent bumper.
That is a bent bumper.
Quit backing into stuff.
Or have people quit hitting me on starts.
There's that. So hopefully you learned something from the video. We had fun making it. If you like this type of project, give us a thumbs up. If you want to see something different, maybe Nerf bars or something else, let us know. Drop it in the comments.
And we'll get it done for you. Appreciate it. Hit the subscribe, click the notification, tell your friends, tell everybody. 3 forms of communication, tell YouTube.
Yeah, we appreciate all the support, and happy Independence Day, America.